Ready to go? All right, I have 6 o'clock, so we'll call Charter Township of Long Lake Board of Trustees regular meeting to order for June 10th, 2025. I'll rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Here. Walterad. Here. Robinson.
Here.
Schaub.
Here.
Wagner. Here. Lempool.
Here.
And Siebert is absent and excused.
All right. So before we open for our first public comment, I'd like to take the time to thank Tom Slater. He's here tonight. So Tom, for many years of service to the township, he's been a key part in documenting and recording the township board meetings for the past 17 years. Mr. Slater has been dedicated to his duties and has never missed a single board meeting. We want to express our appreciation for this award and recognizing your years of service. So thank you for all you've done. And I'll probably get off camera, but. So here's a certificate and a little something for you to enjoy, and thank you for all you've done for doing this.
Thank you.
So
Thank
since,
you, Rusty.
Yep, thank you, Tom.
so since we got all this new upgrade, Tom's out of a job here, so he still has to do our memorial service, though. So thank you for everything, Tom. All right, so we'll open up for our first public comment.
Any person shall be permitted to address this meeting of the Board of Trustees, which is required to be open to the public under the provisions of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following. Any person wishing to address the board shall state their name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same manner, excluding the time needed to answer trustees' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may extend the amount of time each person is allowed to speak. If a group wishes to address the board, the chairperson may require the group to designate a spokesperson. The township does not respond to comments other than questions to the trustees or to make a necessary clarification. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board.
Okay, first public comment. All right, hearing none, we'll go on to consent calendar.
Okay, tonight the consent calendar consists of the Township Board meeting minutes of May 13th, 2025, Treasurer's Report 4/30/25, Planner's Report, May of 25, Zoning Permit List, May of 25, Zoning Report, May of 25, Enforcement Officer Report, May of 25, Parks Department Report, May of 25, Check Register Report for May, Grand Traverse County Road Commission, May of 25, Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Report, May of 25, correspondence from Kay Ingram and Gary Brown.
All right, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And approve and amend the agenda. I only have one amendment tonight, is to add the quote from Travers Outdoor for irrigation repairs.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented with the addition of the quote.
Second.
All right, we have motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, any conflict of interest, anything on the agenda tonight? All right, hearing none. We'll go on to special reports. Grand Traverse County Commissioner Morris. Are we doing better, Lloyd? Are we doing better on the mics? Okay.
All right. So, in recent history, we have passed countywide regulation for the evaluation of on-site water and sewage disposal systems at the time of property transfer. We're continuing to update our Alpha project with Cunningham Limp. We get regular reports to them to see where we are as we continue to look at our facilities. We're also continuing to meet with department heads, getting perspectives on how it's going, their personnel, budgets, et cetera. So that's kind of the line of our study sessions right now. And so you may have heard, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health voted to approve a plan to look at budget cuts in order to balance up to an $8.7 million deficit. Now, let's make this a distinction. We didn't approve a budget. We approved a plan to look at the budget. If the plan is fully enacted, it would lay off about 30 to 40 FTEs, consolidate some services, pull some high-need clients back into our catchment area, and pull funding from some services such as the clubhouses. So we really don't want to do that. So we're encouraging our leadership to look at funding sources and Medicaid redetermination. And there is a possibility of some restoration of funds from the state that were pulled from us that kind of help topple us into deficit. So again, it's not budget cuts, but it's a plan. Another distinction I wanted to make that you may have read about in the paper or on the news is that the narrative is that we pulled our 24-hour fast team, so we don't have after-hours emergency calls. But what it is that the new crisis center is going to be handling all of those because they go 24 hours starting in July. So it's not like we don't have the 24-hour services. They're just not going to be provided by the same people that they were. Okay, any questions, comments, smart remarks?
I have none.
No?
I'm good.
It's the stick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Anyone else? No? Okay.
Thank you, Penny. Emergency Service Station, Chief Down. Do have his update right here.
Good evening, all. I tried to blow up the text so we could actually see it on TVs too. That's why we got a new format now, so we can see it out here in the stands. So,
Can you see that?
so some of the big news this month. Stephen Curtis he did our EMT last summer, and then he just graduated from fire school. So we now have a firefighter EMT, local grown, and he's a very good kid. He does a great job for us. Well, speaking about that, we also had a young man did a 2-week ride-along with us, and trying to bring him into the service. His dad was a firefighter and retired from Ohio, someplace in Ohio. So Greenspire School has a program where you go out and you work the field for 2 weeks. So his name was Hayden Jury, and he did a great job for us too. And hopefully we got an application out there. He's still a little young, but hopefully that'll pay some dividends too. And Greg's here. I don't know if he'll talk anything about this, but we did participate in the county's EOC activation. So it's an event that they do, and kind of get all the gears running and make sure that things work out in case of an emergency. The big news is we did 6 out of township responses for EMS. Myself and DC McGarrah, we attended the state chiefs, and really we had yet another banner month, 77 calls for the month. Our EMS calls are high, and we still seem to be doing a lot of fires. Any questions?
Cool.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Andy.
All right. Community Police Officer update. And boat sheriff once in a while down at the attendant.
I don't know about that. I sing.
I didn't say on the boat, but.
Okay, not on the boat, thank God.
Attendant.
I feel bad you're in your own little island over here. Okay, all right, sounds good. Okay, so since the last meeting, I had 59 calls for service. 19 traffic stops. I'm trying my best out there, folks. It's pretty brutal, so I think people like to speed in the summertime, so doing my best. The digital speed sign, the portable one, was placed on hard drive the past couple of weeks. I think it's the Gallagher Farm subdivision there. So hopefully we get good data off that for the residents there. There's a lot of complaints about people cutting through from Cedar Run to North Long, so it was up there for about 2 weeks collecting data. It's now going to be going to the stone wall, in front of the stone wall on North Long. So hopefully we can collect data there as well. Trainings that I attended to this past month, I did a elder abuse training here in Traverse City, basically signs of elder abuse, and it went into like physical abuse, financial abuse, things of that nature. So I attended that training, and then I was tasked along with the Acme community police officer to come up with a lesson of de-escalation. So we have never taught de-escalation to citizens before, so we had to come up with a PowerPoint on the fly, and we taught some techniques to the SEEDS program, the people that build the paths and do sustainable forestry and that kind of stuff. So that was taught to them, so if you know anybody that wants to learn about de-escalation, just send them my way and I'll show them the PowerPoint. Other than that, nothing too crazy or out of the ordinary, but it's definitely getting busier as the summer begins.
I got passed on the stone wall the other day.
Oh my God, there's lots of people that have said very similar things, so it's
insane.
just ridiculous.
I was
It's
like
just ridiculous.
driving down the road and I was like, where'd this guy come from? So
If I see that kind of stuff, I will address it, I promise.
I'm not supposed to hold my phone in my hands while you're driving, so I didn't get a picture.
All right, fair enough. I would have let that slide for you to get a picture, I promise. So, any questions?
All right,
Thanks, guys, appreciate
thank
it.
you. All right, we'll go on to our first, pending business is, everybody asked to have some information brought back for Barney Road. So the road commission, Dan couldn't be here tonight because he had a couple meeting conflicts. So what they did was they presented this proposal to us for improving our side of Barney Road. So it comes out to a total of $900,098. And the road commission is asking us for $274,883 of that. The rest of it they're picking up through MTF funds and the millage. So we currently have $343,000 in our road fund with the $100,000 from this year. So, and then Garfield was getting theirs tonight to do their side, which there's a lot less because they had less area. So this is basically going to cut out some of the road and grind it and reshape it, and then some will just be patched better than what it is with instead of, what do they call it? Spot patching or whatever they call it. So that's what they're looking to do, and their plan is to work on this 2.51 miles towards the end of in August time. So, and then the plan next year is to chip and seal it. And I know that's one of the discussions we're going to have about how do we help roads, what's the priority in going forward. But this is something that's in front of us to fix this road before it gets too bad.
If Garfield didn't proceed with any impact, let's say we did and they didn't.
No, we would still, they would fix our side. Looking for a motion for approval.
Motion for approval for the expenditure of $274,883.
I'll support.
All right, we have motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, next we'll get on to Resolution 62512, Long Lake Township Emergency Management. That's why Greg is here from Emergency Management, so you can come on up in case there's any questions on this. So basically, what's happening is that we're getting to the size of a township where this comes in place. So I'll let Greg speak about it. So what we're doing is looking at it as a resolution that, I'll let Greg take it on.
Thanks, Ron. So basically, the state law, which is Public Act 390, 1976 amended, is the state emergency management law. And it basically says in there that any local jurisdiction that reaches a population of 10,000 or greater, and there's different rules for 25,000 and greater, but 10,000 and greater may start and have their own emergency management program, or under the law, they're afforded to sign a resolution to adopt the county's emergency management program and our emergency operations plan. Now, all along over the past, you've always fell under the auspice of the county. All this does is give you what the state calls as a support emergency operations plan, which basically takes into the easiest example is your fire and EMS department. Under the county's plan, they fall in line with all the other fire and EMS departments, and depending where our chiefs association for the county lists your fire and EMS organization, they may or may not have a role in the emergency operations center or disasters. This plan and this resolution basically takes into recognition that you have your own fire and EMS department, and they are the authority in your township. It doesn't take anything from you at all. The only thing it does is it gives you the authority and gives your supervisor the authority to declare states of emergency within Long Lake Township. If there was something that just were to affect Long Lake Township, it would give you the rights and powers to declare a state of emergency, and then rely on more formal activities like more mutual aid from the county, give you the ability to sign a declaration and send it with the county to the state, and it just gives you those rights and privileges. It also, if you expend funds to deal with a declared disaster emergency, the language in the resolution and under the law, with being a support emergency management organization, it gives you the ability that if you expend refunds or expend funds during a disaster, if the state opens up their Section 19 Emergency Disaster Grant Fund, if it's funded, that's another story. But if and when it's funded, you can receive up to $100,000 in back, depending what you've expended in funds. So I know in 2015, when we had the windstorm that just barely missed the township, the county received the maximum they could. City of Traverse City received a maximum they could, and East Bay Township received a maximum they could. So it does afford you that, which now the maximum under the newly revised law is Long Lake Township would be eligible for up to $100,000. Let me premise this. There's no money ever guaranteed in any disaster. My recommendation with this is, in the resolution, it does say as a recommendation that the township identify and keep in reserve a minimum of a $10,000 for a disaster relief fund. That doesn't mean that you have to do anything special. It's just if you have, I know all townships and municipalities have a rainy day fund just for the purposes of bookkeeping. And actually, it's political. It would be an example of, we have these funds and we've spent these funds first to help ourselves. In today's political climate, that goes a long way with the state, with the governor. And also, I'd be remiss to recognize the uncertainties of the Federal Emergency Management Agency and all the funding that goes on there. So it says not less than 10,000. I think I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't recommend, when it comes to budget time, of kind of putting an asterisk and setting aside $100,000 as a minimum, because that way you have that to start with taking care of your citizens, and that's the maximum that you could regain from the state. Now, if it's a huge disaster, there's always more things that you could get if there's a pot of money available from Federal Emergency Management Agency. But the big thing is, it got us to sit around a table with the supervisor and emergency services. It got us to sit down and look at aligning your specific township priorities with the county's emergency operation plan. And if you approve this, it basically puts me more at your beck and call than it did, and our assistant emergency management. But it just aligns your township and your program with having an all hazards risk and management plan that complements the county. And it actually puts you in alignment to have the rights and powers under Public Act 390. So there's more, there's details, but that's the long and short of it. And again, there's really no downside to this. It's just a matter, the township doesn't have to do it. You would still, in a disaster, receive services from the county. We're not going to say, nope, we ignore you. That's not how we do business. This just puts you in a position to help yourselves and to do certain things under the law, like declare disasters and emergencies. I think that's it. Does that cover it?
Okay, I think that covers it. So what I put in front of you was basically their document, and then I put a $10,000, up to $10,000, supervisor could spend up to $10,000, and then we could have a contingency fund of $10,000 to start out with, but, it's up to, I just put that number out there to start out with.
And you can always amend this at a later time after budget, or you can leave it. It really is just to cover you. And we've seen the ice storm recently, when all the counties were declaring and asking the state for funds back. The first question the governor's office was asking all those municipalities, how much did you spend to help yourself? And that is a huge question today. So again, I just make the recommendation of what the state will give you, but by all means, it's within the means of the township.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
No, I'm just going to make a motion.
Okay, that's fine.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 6-25-10. Oh, no, wrong one.
25-12.
-12 for the Long Lake Township Emergency Management.
All right, we have motion support. Any further discussion? Oh, Dan, sorry. Hearing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Wagner. Yes. Balderack. Yes. Shaw.
Yes.
Mila.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Lempool.
Yes. Motion passes. All right, we'll go on to resolution number 62510, group retirement, and I'll turn this one over to Rhonda. You gonna make it?
I don't know. I'm getting over this thing, and I don't know how I'll do here, but I'll survive. So, and we call it pension and retirement, but it's the 11% that's put aside for all full-time. And it's always been kept at John Hancock for as long as I can remember. Talking to Carrie at Burnham and Flowers, she recommended going to Empower, and she sent us this chart. She said, the rate of return is better, the fees are way less. She said not that this would make the difference, but the website is way easier to use for people, and the admin time on my end would be less. She kind of made it sound like a no-brainer, and we have trusted her. She's been really good for us in the past. So it's kind of a long process to switch everything over. The first step is to do the resolution saying that we want to switch who's handling the money. And then it looks like there's probably 6 or 7 steps. It'd probably take a couple months back and forth, and then building our portfolio and going back and forth, and to finally get all the money over to Empower. But this is just the first step.
So both the John Hancock and the Voya would go over to Empower?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the Voya is the contributions that people make out of their pay themselves. Yeah.
And it does seem like a no-brainer.
Well, I think the big thing is saving time and money with fees and stuff.
I assume staff is in favor of this idea.
The ones that I don't know that we've mentioned it at a meeting necessarily, but I've ran it by a few people and they didn't care. If their money's growing and it's growing better this way, they're all for it, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 6-25-10.
A second.
All right, we have motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Shove,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Ballsrat.
Yes.
Rumple.
Yes. Motion passes. All right, we'll go on to the fireworks application. So the fireworks are proposed for July 4th, Friday night. Same application before, other than it's for 25. For approval, I'm looking for two contingencies on this approval. One, because we will send it out to the DNR and they'll have to approve it. So as long as the DNR approves it, and then I know he's waiting on getting his new license and permit, so that should be coming before that. So it's making sure we have those two things before he has them. I have received the chief's report for this process, so he's gone through his normal process that he does. And I just got that, so if anybody wants to see it, I'll give it to him. But basically, same thing as last year. We just document that he follows the guidelines that are part of our resolutions and rules for that, so. So we get approval for those, or if there's any questions?
I make a motion to approve the application for the fireworks permit subject to DNR approval and subject to the applicant providing the current license.
Support?
All right, we have motion and support. Any further discussion? Kendra. Sorry, I suppose I should start saying names. Wagner and Balderek. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, Twin Lakes. So recently we had our walk-in cooler refrigeration unit go down, and we had two different quotes. One was just to replace the condenser, and then if the other part went out, since all the new refrigeration is changing, then we'd have to replace both again. So that's why in front of you is this for $15,919.73. And then we get it back up and running. We've been using refrigerators in and out, so people have events, so they haven't been affected by those, so.
Would this cost be recaptured then in like our rental?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It'll come back to us.
Yeah.
These are those unfortunate maintenance things.
Homeownership.
Yeah.
Or part of ownership.
Yep.
So if I get a motion to approve that as well?
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve the Grad Travers refrigeration for the price of $15,919.73.
Do we take the tax off there? Should it be the
Yeah, the tax will come off.
15 to
15.
14, 18?
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, $15.24.18.
Yep. So we have motion and a support. Motion by Schaub, support by Balderek. Any further questions? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right. Now we'll go on to Resolution 62511 for Fresh Coast Market Liquor License Application. So if Cody, you can come up, and I know Scott's here from Fresh Coast as well. Hey, everybody, this is Scott. Most people haven't met him. He's the new owner of Fresh Coast. I shouldn't say new, you've been there for a few months. Almost a year. So, all right.
Good evening. So the application in front of you, like Ron mentioned, was from Fresh Coast Market, requesting to sell beer and wine on-premise for on-premise consumption at their 7270 North Long location. On-premise liquor licenses are administered through Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, specifically the Liquor Control Commission. They set a quota based on local government unit. In our local government unit of Long Lake Township, there are currently 7 allowed licenses for on-premise consumption. 4 of them have been issued, 3 are still available, so Scott and Fresh Coast are applying for one of those available 3. As part of that application process, the state asks the local government unit to comment on recommending or not recommending that license to the applicant. Long Lake Township has previously passed liquor license ordinance number 29, and then we amended it again to number 54, which kind of lays out the procedures for your review of the application. In the memo that I created for you for the board packet, it kind of outlines those items for you. There's 3 main sections for your consideration. The first is a questionnaire that the applicant has provided answers to 10 questions. The second of which is showing approval standards for you guys to be guided by in your decision-making process. And then the third section is requirements for license. So there's some exclusions that you're not allowed to give license for or recommending for. So those are listed there as well. I included in the packet the state local government approval form, so you can see what that looks like, as well as the applicants provided answers to the questions, along with some photos and some information, a recent site plan and our Long Lake Township zoning map, and the full ordinance number 54 language for your review if you had questions. So I'm here tonight to answer questions on the process for that, and if you have specific questions for the applicant, Scott is here and be happy to answer them for you.
Information was very helpful, Cody. Let's spell it all out. The one question I have is, what if, on the unlikely scenario that there's issues, discusses what happens as far as public township would pursue a revocation?
Yeah, so revocation is addressed in ordinance number 54. There is a section, and forgive me, I don't have it memorized, but I can find it briefly here for you. We have a process and steps to do so, but the administration and enforcement of the license is done through the state, so they also have their own rules and regulations they have to follow from state guideline. But under the unfortunate event where we do have to have a revocation, we do have a procedure for that.
Cody, I had one question I forgot to ask earlier. I know that the idea, Scott, is that people can, buy a bottle of wine and open it and drink it while they're eating their pizza or whatever. But does this license also, if they change their mind and wanted to make the coffee bar into a bar, is that the same license?
I was going to let you defer to that.
Correct, yeah, that would be correct.
Okay. And that's not your plan at this time?
No, we're just-
Can you come up to the mic?
No, our plan is just to have the ability to serve the community through, recommendations from the customers and the public. We serve pizzas, we serve sandwiches, and to have the ability to have a, legal consumption of alcohol on premise.
Okay.
It's a separate license and requires local, a resolution to do that. Yeah, but no plans to change anything. That's why I included the seating. No plans at this time. Just definitely something we want to walk into, but no major plans, no renovations or anything that are on the horizon.
If you did decide to do that sometime, this license would allow you to make that next jump?
Within the current structure, yeah. Any
Okay.
type of-
Obviously, you'd probably have to come back here, you'd probably change your restaurant or...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's just, I think there's more and more markets out there within the state that have that ability to serve on premise. It also allows us, a lot of our vendor partners will get a sampling license. It allows us to sample local, local wines here, from the region as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Any further questions? Can I get a motion to approve?
Also move.
We have motion, do we have support?
I'll support.
All right, motion by Wagner, supported by Schaub. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Wagner?
Yep.
Alderette?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Lempour?
Yes. All right, motion passes. All right, now we'll go on to number 6, Travers Outdoor Sprinkler Repairs. So this is basically around Long Lake Township's building after all that stuff was all tore up around the front with the construction. So this is $7,640 to bring this area back up to par for irrigation.
Is Travers Outdoors the one we've been going with recently?
Yeah, they've done all their repairs at all their locations.
Okay.
And this system that was put in here was probably put in with several volunteers.
No.
So it's kind of been a hodgepodge of several things, so now we're just trying to make sure this area is taken care of.
Okay.
This will cover all the way around the back, side, by the pavilions, and all the way around the front.
Well, I'll make the motion, we approve the quote for $7,640 from Travers Outdoors.
Support?
Motion by Schaub, support by Balderack. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, we'll go on to our second public comment. Same rules as the first public comment.
Tom Slater, 1631 Woodward Avenue, Traverse City. I would just like to extend my thanks to the boards, to this board. I followed Dan around to several boards. It seems like we're old pals. But I want to go back to that very first board with Karen Rosa. She really encouraged the use of video to inform the residents. And I also want to thank Dave Garvin and John Linnersom for being promoters in the early days. That was very important for me to get a solid start. I lived in the township for 37 years. I'll be 75 next Tuesday, and I have a lot of very good memories of living in this township. So I want to thank this board for all the work that they're doing. It's never enough, but there's always more to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. All right, any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll go on. We have no budget status, so any Board of Trustee comments? I have a few, but if anybody wants to go first.
I just wanted, one of my family members launched at Crescent Shores, and she didn't remember who the attendee was, but how nice they were. He was a really friendly young guy, and they were helpful, and I'm not sure who was there, but that was a good feedback, for our Crescent Shores.
I'm sure Warren will think that you said young guy.
I'm not sure what kind of beverages they had earlier. Yeah, so that was good to hear.
Good. We are looking for a boat attendant on Sundays if anybody's looking. So basically 10 till 4, 6 o'clock if it's busy, $25 an hour. So they got to be at least 18. So if anybody's got any children, grandchildren looking for a Sunday gig, and they'll be done by Labor Day. So let me know. All right, any other comments? All right, I'll go through a couple. In July, on the agenda, we'll have a discussion about short-term rentals. Gilbert Lodge, let me see if I can find this here. Where'd it go? I lost it. Oh well, I'll have to find him here in a minute. So Gilbert Lodge, we got all the handrails completed. Penny mentioned the Grand Traverse County septic tank change inspection, so Cody and I'll be reviewing that to see what it does to ours, because ours is quite more extensive than theirs, because we did it first in Grand Traverse County. Long Lake does that a lot. Budget process, we'll start that in August. Just so everybody's aware, the boat launch fee poster in the ground, as you've probably seen on overheard of on Long Lake. So we've talked about that since January, and some are just thinking they found out about it. So we did that, and then we'll put some signs on those. Also, I know that Long Lake Association is, on their website, has put the link for getting the launch pass on that, so that you can go to the website, so we'll have some links for that. And then we'll talk about roads July or August. And then they have completed the road safety assessment for Cedar Run Road between Gray Road and Harris Road, so we'll see what comes out of that. Let me see if I find those pictures so you can see that. There we go. So this is the new handrail. See if I can get it to download. There it goes. So that's a new handrail at Twin Lakes. So a little more sturdier down there. So you can actually see the lake from and that deck. And then we do have some tables coming. The airport has donated some tables to us, little bistro tables for out there. So, all right. So those are my updates. And if we don't have any other,
One thing, there was some correspondence that a gentleman had written to us about a noise ordinance, which we already have a noise ordinance, but I know from prior involvement up here and other communities, very, very difficult to enforce. It's that time of year, obviously, we out, boats and, what.
So-
They're almost impossible to enforce, because generally by the time whoever's been called upon to enforce them, it's over, right? And ours is incredibly vague, kind of by design. I'm not saying it's bad, but, people do have noise concerns, and what's our best advice to try and address them?
well, what we can do is put it on as an agenda item to discuss it, just to keep everything. I just trying to talk to everybody about proper meeting etiquette. So these are supposed to be updates, but we should talk about that when we can bring it back. And that's something that's going to take the county involvement. And Sean and I discussed that one earlier. So, but we can put it on as an agenda item and discuss it. Okay, all right. Any other updates?
I just want another comment.
You can do that.
Stop with the farmer's market on Thursday. It was a success. I mean, yeah. Okay.
Everybody sold everything out pretty much? Okay. Anything else? All right, then we will adjourn at 6:42.